My name is Dana Whitford, and I was standing at the federal counter in Austin with $12 in my pocket and an eviction notice folded inside my jacket. I told the clerk I just needed a passport stamp so I could take a janitor job overseas. She smiled the polite, tired smile of someone who'd seen too many desperate faces, then typed my social security number into the system. The sound of her keyboard was ordinary until it wasn't. Her fingers froze midair. The smile disappeared. She leaned forward and whispered, "You can't leave." Her whisper was louder than a gunshot in that marble hall. I thought I'd misheard. But then the alarm light on the wall began to flash a steady, pulsing red that painted the counter like an open wound. 2 security guards turned toward me, their hands hovering near their holsters. And the clerk's voice cracked as she said, "This number belongs to a child who died in 1994. Ah, the world went weightless. I heard my own heartbeat louder than the siren. "That's impossible," I said, gripping the counter until my knuckles burned. "I'm right here." She shook her head, whispering, "I'm sorry." Just as the elevator doors slid open behind her, the air changed, even the guards stiffened. A man in a black suit walked out, his steps steady, like he already knew every answer in the room. He didn't look at them. He looked at me. When his eyes met mine, something in his expression tightened recognition, not confusion. He stopped 2 feet away, voice low but certain. "Welcome back, Dana." My breath caught. I hadn't moved, but it felt like the ground had shifted beneath me. In that single moment, every fight for rent money, every night spent invisible, folded into one impossible truth: someone, somewhere, had been waiting for me to return. The man in the suit led me into a small office that smelled faintly of polished wood and coffee. He didn't offer his name until we sat. And when he did, it carried the kind of authority that made people stop interrupting. "Agent Cole Ramsey," he said, sliding a plain folder toward me. "You've been listed as missing for 28 years. I tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. I clean floors for a living. "Agent, if I've been missing that long, someone should have noticed. I have it." He didn't smile. He opened the folder, revealing a photograph of a child with my eyes and a dimple I'd never seen in a mirror. "Her name was Noah Whitford," he said quietly. "She vanished from a park in Amarillo in 1994. Your fingerprints match hers, and the DNA from your employment records confirmed it this morning." My voice barely made a sound. "That's not possible." He leaned back, studying me the way you study a truth that refuses to fit the shape of your world. "It's not only possible, it's absolute." Dak. I stared at the image, tracing the outline of the little girl's face. The resemblance wasn't a coincidence. It was a mirror I'd been denied. "If this is real, where have I been all this time?" I asked. Cole's eyes softened, but his words didn't. "You were living under a false identity created by a man named Raymond Lockwood," he said. "He's the sheriff of Caldwell County. The man who raised you wasn't a guardian. He was the suspect we never caught." The words landed heavier than any accusation. "He said he found me abandoned." I whispered. "He didn't find you," Cole replied. "He took you?" The silence stretched until it ached. I reached for the folder, my hand trembling above the paper. "You're saying my whole life has been stolen property?" I asked. He nodded once. "And your real parents have been searching for you every single year since that day." He pointed to a line on the page, 2 names: Eleanor and Patrick Whitford, owners of a Texas energy conglomerate. "They're already on their way to Austin. They want to see you." I felt the room tilt, like gravity had changed sides. "I'm nobody," I said. "You're not nobody," Cole corrected. "You're the reason a 28-year investigation is finally ending. It's Ollie Day." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Everything I'd ever believed about struggle and insignificance unraveled in front of me. Neat as a file on a desk. He closed the folder and said quietly, "You were never a mistake. Dana, you were a crime that got away." And just like that, the past stopped being something I endured and became something I could expose. The door didn't open, it shattered into noise. I barely had time to turn before Sheriff Raymond Lockwood stepped through the frame in his dress uniform, the gold star on his chest burning under the fluorescent light. "Step away from her," he barked, his voice carrying the same authority that once dictated when I could eat or sleep. Agent Cole Ramsey stood, measured and still, saying, "This is a federal office. You have no jurisdiction here." Lockwood smirked and dropped a folded paper onto the desk. "Warrant says otherwise." I could hear my own pulse as I looked at the document lying between them. Lockwood's hand trembled slightly, but his tone was pure command. "She stole $60,000 worth of jewelry from my wife this morning. I'm taking her in." Cole's jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake," he said. "She's not a suspect. She's a victim in an active federal case." Lockwood didn't blink. "Then you can interview her after I book her. Move." His deputies moved forward in unison. The same precision I remembered from every punishment he'd ever given. I shouted before their hands reached me. "That's a lie. I haven't been near your house in years." Lockwood didn't look at me. He looked at Cole. "Save it for the judge," he said, his voice almost casual. One deputy twisted my wrist behind my back. The click of metal sharp and cold. Cole took a step closer, but Lockwood stopped him with a low growl. "Careful. Agent, this is a state matter. You interfere. I file obstruction. That'll look good on your record." Cole's silence was heavier than resistance. I wanted to believe the badge on his chest meant protection, but all I could see was ownership. Lockwood's fingers dug into my arm, and he leaned close enough for me to feel his breath. "Told you not to dig," he whispered, his voice so calm it froze my blood. "You'll be dead before your rich parents land. Jail suicides happen every day." My throat went dry. Words caught behind panic. I turned to Cole and forced out, "Please, don't let him take me. You said I was safe." Cole's eyes flickered. Torn between the law and the trap it had become, the deputies pushed me toward the door, their grip firm but uncertain. Lockwood barked, "Move," and the word carried decades of control. I went limp, my knees folding until my weight dragged them down. One lost his balance. The movement broke their rhythm. "Get up," Lockwood hissed, yanking my arm. "Stop making a scene." I lifted my head slowly until my eyes met his, and for the first time, he looked away first. "You think you can scare me?" I said, my voice shaking but steady. "I lived in your house. You already tried." "Tikas." For a breath, the room froze. Cole's voice cut through it. "Release her." "Sheriff, she's under federal protection." Lockwood's laugh was dry and dangerous. "Protection? You can't even stop me from walking her out that door." Cole stepped forward, his tone sharp enough to slice through the air. "You have a warrant. I'll see it executed legally. But if it's fake, I'll have you charged before noon." Lockwood shoved the paper toward him, eyes burning with triumph. "Read it yourself. Judge signed it 10 minutes ago." I watched Cole's gaze fall on the signature, his thumb pressing the paper flat against the desk. "You think this will hold?" he asked quietly. "It already has," Lockwood answered. "She's coming with me." He nodded to his deputies. They grabbed my arms again, forcing me toward the hallway. Cole's hand twitched toward his badge, but he stopped himself. The system had rules. and Lockwood was playing them like strings on a violin. Every step toward the exit felt like walking backward through my own history. The marble under my shoes. The fluorescent hum. The voices around me, all of it blurred into one long echo of every night I'd spent under his roof. "You're making a mistake," Cole said one last time. Lockwood didn't even turn. "No. Agent," he said, gripping my arm so hard it left bruises. "I'm fixing one." And with that, the man who'd stolen my life was dragging me out to steal it again. I didn't fight when they dragged me across the lobby. But my voice cut through every sound in the room. "Check the time on his warrant," I shouted, the words sharp enough to stop motion. The deputies froze just long enough for me to look at Cole. "You said you trust evidence, then look at it." Lockwood's grip tightened on my arm. "Shut her up," he ordered. But I wasn't pleading anymore. "Check the timestamp," I said again. Louder. Every syllable slicing through the air like truth refusing to die. Cole's expression changed from caution to calculation. "Hand me the warrant," he said, extending his hand. Lockwood hesitated, then shoved the paper forward. "Signed it Adelaide. M," he said with mock satisfaction. "Now get out of my way." Cole looked up at the clock above the security desk, then back at the page. "That's interesting," he said quietly. Lockwood's smirk twitched. "Why?" Cole's voice was steady. "Because the security log shows Dana entering this building at 7:45. You can't steal jewelry at 8 if you were already here 15 minutes earlier." "Oak." Lockwood's jaw clenched. "Clerical error," he spat. Cole folded the paper neatly. "Or perjury," he said. "And if you lied on a sworn affidavit to remove a federal witness, that's a felony." The deputies exchanged uncertain looks, their hands dropping slightly from my arms. Lockwood's voice cracked with sudden rage. "You think you can out-talk me? Agent, you don't know how this works down here." Cole didn't blink. "I know exactly how it works," he said. "I also know the difference between an arrest and a kidnapping." That word landed like a blade. I straightened my back even though my wrists still ached. "He's been planning this since the second my name showed up in your database," I said. Lockwood turned on me, his eyes wild. "You think you're some kind of miracle?" he hissed. "You're a mistake that kept breathing." Cole stepped forward, his tone razor sharp. "Back away from her." "Sheriff," Lockwood laughed. The sound unhinged. "You'll pull a gun on a cop?" Cole didn't answer. "If you move her one more step, I'll call the U.S. Marshal and every federal judge in this district will see your name in my report before lunch." Today, for the first time, Lockwood's authority cracked. "You're bluffing," he said. Cole tilted his head. "Am I?" He nodded to the security guard behind the desk. "Pull the feed from this morning." The guard hesitated, but Cole's voice left no room for choice. "Show me the north entrance." "Tidian Sisherwoofen." The monitor flickered, and there I was on the screen, walking through metal detectors under bright lights. Cole pointed at it without looking away from Lockwood. "That's time-stamped. Verified. And public record." Lockwood's face drained of color. The deputies took another step back. "Sir," one of them said quietly, "maybe we should let the feds handle it." Lockwood's reply was a roar. "Nobody moves. You hear me?" Cole's tone dropped lower. Colder. "Sheriff, you're done. Release her." When the deputies didn't move, he added, "If you don't, you're aiding a kidnapping under federal law." The word kidnapping hit harder than any threat. The men released me as if burned, the cuffs falling against my wrists with a metallic rattle. I stepped forward, my voice calm but fierce. "You told me I'd die in a cell," I said to Lockwood. Looks like you'll be the one behind bars. Ah. He lunged half a step toward me before realizing he was alone. You don't know what you're doing, he said, his breath shaking. You don't know what I've done for you. Cole's voice cut through his delusion. What you've done is destroy your career. Sheriff. And right now. You're about one sentence away from being arrested yourself. Lockwood's hands twitched at his sides. You're making a mistake, he said. But it sounded more like a plea. I protected her. I raised her. Cole's reply was merciless. You hid her because she was evidence. You don't protect evidence, you bury it. I'm so dead. The lobby fell into a tense silence that made even the ticking clock sound like thunder. I could feel Lockwood's anger curdling into fear. And for the first time, I saw him as small. You can't erase what I gave her. He muttered. A roof. Food. I shook my head. You didn't give me anything. You taught me how to survive without you. Cole's tone was colder now. Almost surgical. Sheriff, remove your hands from your weapon belt. Lockwood laughed softly. A sound cracked in half. You think I'd draw on a federal agent? I think you already did worse, Cole said. The security guards moved in behind him. Their presence silent but heavy. This isn't over, Lockwood said. Voice hoarse. Cole answered. It is for you. He turned to me. You're free. Dana, no one's taking you anywhere. I nodded, every muscle trembling with relief and rage that felt too similar to tell apart. Cole looked back at the sheriff. You've been running your county like it's your personal kingdom, he said. Now it's time someone reminded you where the borders are. Lockwood's reply came through gritted teeth. You'll regret this. Cole's answer was simple. I don't regret enforcing the law. I stood there in the middle of that marble floor. Bruised wrists burning. The sound of my own pulse echoing between us. Lockwood's authority dissolved under the weight of his own lies. And the silence that followed was almost tender. Cole didn't raise his voice or celebrate. He simply said, You're done. Sheriff, walk away while you can still call it that. Lockwood looked at me one last time. Eyes filled with something that wasn't anger anymore. It was recognition. You were supposed to stay lost, he whispered. And I answered, You should have known better. Lost things remember the way home. Don't first in mine. Lockwood was still shaking when he finally found his voice. You can't charge me for kidnapping, he said, forcing a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. It's been over 20 years. Statute of limitations expired in 2014. Cole didn't raise his voice. You're right, he said evenly. But you forgot the part where you built your life on stolen property. Lockwood blinked. What the hell are you talking about? Cole laid a heavy file on the desk between them. The constructive trust doctrine, he said. Everything you bought with ransom money or federal subsidies belongs to her now. Lockwood's laughter came out brittle. Too high to sound human. That's insane. That money's mine. I earned it. Cole didn't even look up. You didn't earn it, he said. You laundered it. We traced every deposit. Every asset tied to the foster stipend. Every transfer you filed under false dependence. You've been managing her inheritance for decades without knowing it. Lockwood's hand twitched toward the folder. But Cole kept talking. You filed false taxes. You funneled trust payments. You turned a kidnapped child into a revenue stream. The silence that followed wasn't confusion, it was realization. I stepped forward. The cuffs still warm against my wrists. So everything you own? I said quietly. Was bought with the price of my silence. He turned to me. Desperate. You don't understand. Dana. I gave you a life. My voice was calm in a way that scared even me. You gave me a cage. I just didn't know it had marble floors. Cole's tone was final. Effective immediately. All of Sheriff Lockwood's assets are seized under federal order. His house, vehicles, pension, and accounts are held in trust for the victim he concealed. Lockwood's voice cracked as he shouted, "You can't take everything." Cole replied, "We already did. The moment you lied on record, you forfeited it." He lunged for the folder. But I was faster. My hand pressed the page flat, signing my name where Cole pointed. "Sell it," I said. "Every acre, every house, every badge." Lockwood stared at me as if I'd spoken a foreign language. "You'd destroy everything I built?" I met his eyes. "You didn't build anything. You just collected what never belonged to you." He took a step back, shaking his head. "You think this makes you free?" "No," I said. "It makes you accountable." That word broke something in him that no prison cell ever could. Cole turned the file toward him again, his voice deliberate. "You thought the law had an expiration date. It doesn't. Civil fraud involving a minor has no clock. You kept her hostage for profit. Every cent you touched carries her name." Lockwood's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "You can't take away who I am," he whispered. Cole didn't flinch. "You already did that to yourself." I watched as the weight of consequence replaced the swagger that used to fill every room he entered. For the first time, he looked like the thing he'd always feared ordinary. His deputies avoided his eyes. "You think the county will back you now?" Cole asked. "You used your badge to cover a crime. You turned justice into payroll." Lockwood's anger sputtered into silence. "You're nothing without that uniform," I said, my voice low. "You used to make me kneel to thank you for food. Now you'll kneel to sign your confession." Cole glanced at me, then at him. "She's right. You've run out of titles to hide behind." Lockwood tried to steady his breath, but it broke into fragments of denial. "You can't undo history," Cole answered. "No, but we can rewrite the ownership." "One." The room held its breath as he finally reached for the pen. He didn't sign. He threw it across the desk and spat. "You'll regret this." I stepped closer, meeting him where fear met pride. "I already lived regret," I said. "Now I live recovery." He stared at me. And in that second, every lie he ever told me collapsed under its own weight. "You were nothing," he said. The words more prayer than insult. I smiled. "Then it must be hard watching nothing take everything." Cole spoke one last time. "Sheriff Raymond Lockwood, you're under arrest for perjury, obstruction, and financial fraud." When the cuffs clicked around his wrists, the sound was small but absolute. Cole handed me the signed authorization for asset transfer, his tone gentler now. "This restores what was stolen," he said. I shook my head. "No, it just removes his name from my story." He nodded once, understanding without asking. Lockwood's eyes followed me as they led him out, and I didn't feel hatred, only distance. Everything he'd built had been rooted in theft, and roots like that never survive when the truth comes to light. I didn't follow the agents as they led him away. I just stood there until the echo of his boots disappeared. The air felt new, as if the room itself had been exhaling for the first time in decades. Cole's voice broke the silence. "Your parents are here," he said, and the sentence landed like a pulse in my chest. I turned, and through the open doorway I saw them. Eleanor and Patrick Whitford, faces I had never seen yet somehow already recognized. Eleanor was the first to speak. "Dana," she whispered, her voice shaking. "We never stopped searching." Patrick's eyes stayed on mine, steady and full of the kind of patience only grief can teach. "No one can give back what we lost," he said softly. But we can build what's left. I tried to speak, but the words caught somewhere between apology and disbelief. All I managed was, "You came." Eleanor reached for my hand, her fingers trembling. "We never stopped coming." 8. I let them hold me. And for the first time, the word family didn't sound like a sentence. It sounded like release. Cole stepped closer, his tone quiet. "You're safe now. Dana, everything he took is returned." I nodded. But the truth was heavier and simpler than that. "Nothing's returned," I said. "It's just finally mine again." Eleanor smiled through tears. "Then let's take you home." I looked toward the glass doors where sunlight hit the floor in long, gold streaks. And I said, "Home isn't a place anymore. It's a choice." When I stepped outside, the noise of the world rushed back all at once. The cars, the wind, the life continuing like nothing had happened. I knew better. Every sound meant proof that I still existed. People used to call me invisible. But invisibility isn't vanishing. It's waiting to be seen. So when I walked toward that light, I didn't look back. I'd already taken everything that mattered with me.